Meet your firefighter parts, your inner heroes in times of emotional crisis. In this video, you are going to learn how to establish trust and cooperation with the parts of you that act in times of crisis. Have you ever unleashed your anger at someone because you just could not take it anymore? Have you ever found yourself in a lonely social situation where you absolutely shut down and dissociated? Or how about poured yourself a glass of wine, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4 after a long day during a hard time? If you've ever caught yourself doom scrolling, or if you are boiling over with rage, or you find yourself really needing a cigarette, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel because those are your firefighter parts in action, and I'm going to help you bring relief to those parts through parts work, and ain't nobody talking about parts work the way that I am. In this video, you are going to learn more about the real roles that your firefighter parts are playing for you behind the scenes, and also how to bring them relief. Let's first put your firefighter parts into context. In this video, I gave you an overview of all 3 different types of parts that you have in your inner world: your vulnerable parts, your manager parts, and your firefighter parts, which are the ones we're going to be diving into today. I also gave you this oversimplified map of how your parts organize themselves in your inner world. You can see your vulnerable parts, which are the parts of you that are holding the raw pain of your trauma. They are in the center. Then your firefighter parts, the ones we're going to talk about more today, are in the middle. And your manager parts, which are the parts focused on preventing future pain, they are on the periphery. The reason this is so important to understand is because the behavior of your firefighter parts is directly tied to the raw pain that your vulnerable parts are carrying. Because your firefighter parts see themselves as the last line of defense before you totally get overwhelmed by the pain of your vulnerable parts. So with this basic understanding, let's dive deeper into the many different roles that your firefighter parts might play. Meet your firefighter parts. Your firefighter parts are the last line of defense that protect you from getting flooded and overwhelmed by the raw pain that your vulnerable parts are holding on to. These parts are called firefighters because, like actual firefighters, they come out in times of emergency and will do anything, whatever it takes, to put out the fire of the pain that your vulnerable parts are holding. And they don't give 2 shits about what they wreck in the process. Just like an actual firefighter, they are not going to worry about things like stepping on your lawn when they are trying to put out the fire consuming your house. Like, those firefighters are going to tromps all over your lawn and maybe even completely mess it up, but they are going to put out the fire in your house, right? That's how it is with our inner world firefighters. They act quickly to put out the fire of distress, overwhelm, and chaos that are coming from your vulnerable parts. And they often do this through impulsive or extreme behaviors, which makes sense because they perceive it as an emergency. Firefighter parts can typically take a devil-may-care attitude about saving you from the pain of your vulnerable parts. They don't necessarily care about the consequences, they just want to take your inner world out of a state of emergency. And while their behavior can be detrimental, your firefighter parts play a very, very important role in your inner world because without them, it would be hard to function while being so overwhelmed by the raw emotional pain they are protecting you from feeling. Here are some examples of some firefighter parts that you might have in your inner world. The Addict. Addict firefighter part may turn to substances or behaviors such as drugs or alcohol or compulsive eating or shopping, anything that will help you numb or distract from painful emotions and give you some easy dopamine. While this part can keep the pain at bay in the short term, it can also lead to negative consequences and further trauma. I don't have to tell your manager parts twice about that. Usually your manager parts know what it's like to have to clean up the mess that your firefighter parts left after their desperate attempts to put out the fire. The Aggressor. An aggressor firefighter part may use aggression or violence to protect you from perceived threats of harm. This part can be helpful in situations where there is a real danger, but it can also become harmful when it leads to violent or abusive behavior. The Distractor. A distractor firefighter may use distractions like binge watching TV, scrolling through social media, or even excessively working or exercising in order to avoid difficult emotions or memories. This part can be helpful in situations where you really do just need to disconnect for a while, but it can also lead to chronic disconnection from yourself, others, and the brilliant life you were meant to live. The funny one. These firefighters are usually funny as shit because they use humor or sarcasm as a means to deflect from painful emotions or situations. This part can be helpful in providing a temporary break from emotional intensity. We all need that sometimes. Like, they can cut the tension with some good humor, but they can also be dismissive of important emotions, other parts of you, or other people that actually do need your attention and connection. The rebel. Lord knows I've got one of these. A rebellious firefighter part may engage in reckless or dangerous behaviors in order to assert independence or control. This part can be helpful in situations where there is actually a need to break free from oppressive or harmful situations, but it can also become harmful when it leads to risky or self-destructive behavior. What your firefighter parts wish you understood. Although your firefighter parts might not always admit it, here's the thing they secretly wish you understood about them. I don't like my job either. Firefighter parts don't usually enjoy playing their extreme role. Like, think about how intense it must be for them all the time. Like, always trying to put out the fires of your own overwhelming emotions, especially in the world we live in today. It's important to know that while the outcome and the behavior of your firefighter parts is not always helpful, their intention is only ever to protect your inner world from being flooded with overwhelming emotion. I have got a real soft spot for firefighter parts because they get such a bad rap from the outer world because we live in a society that really only values manager parts who follow the rules well. And firefighters also get a bad rap from the inner world, from your own manager parts that are trying to keep everything in line and that are frustrated with your firefighter parts for messing it all up. And on top of that, your vulnerable parts are usually afraid of your firefighter parts because your firefighter parts can come off so intensely. So in the mind of your firefighters, they are the ones tasked with doing the dirty work that needs to be done in order to keep the peace. Even though they might not admit it at first, most firefighters really don't enjoy the extreme role they're playing for you, but they are dutifully continuing to play it out in order to protect you from getting completely overwhelmed by the raw pain of your vulnerable parts. Here's how to bring relief to your firefighter parts. The hope for your firefighter parts is twofold. Number one, you can bring healing to your vulnerable parts. The most powerful way you can bring relief to your firefighters is through helping your vulnerable parts release their pain and return to safety and wholeness. This will make it so your firefighter parts won't have to work so hard to prevent your emotional pain from overwhelming you because it's just not there anymore. You've released it, which is absolutely possible. And yes, it will absolutely change your entire experience of life. So if you want that for yourself, definitely continue learning about parts work and consider even getting some parts work support. And the second thing you can do is bring more inner support to your firefighter parts. Another path to bringing relief to your firefighter parts is through establishing your essence as your inner leader. This is helpful because your essence has the tools to put out the emotional fires of your vulnerable parts through love and connection instead of risky behavior. Your essence is the ultimate fire putter outer. Once your firefighters come to trust your essence, it will help them feel like they don't have to play such an extreme role anymore and that they're competently supported. Are you ready to meet your first firefighter part? Well, you are in luck because I have created something that will make that super simple for you. It's called the Meet a Part of You worksheet, and it will walk you through identifying all the way to having a whole conversation with a firefighter part of you step by step. So by the end, you are going to have so much clarity that I bet you'll want to just fill it out again and again for a bunch of different parts of you. You can download the worksheet for free using the link in the description. And I always like to prepare people. Some people have said that this worksheet has completely transformed the way that they experience themselves, so be prepared for that.